Yeah, well, this is Six. Today we're talking a little bit about the new Borderlands 2. So got it earlier in October, and started off it and of getting the base game. Yeah, cheaper games. I mean, I didn't do a video about it, I don't think. Did I do a video about it? But I talked about the pricing and stuff like that. Because it calculated out like pricing differences and stuff that technically you save more if you are buying the more expensive version, so you save more on that. But the thing is about is that none of the DLC is out yet. The first one is gonna come like Q4. But the question is that they said after that it wasn't gonna be until several months after the release. So I'm guessing it's gonna be in December or maybe November or whatever and stuff that. So yeah. So I did get the game a little bit late, of course, and stuff that. But yeah, right. This was actually set to friends only at first because that's what it's actually like default. And I have it on hard here, so on easy, you take 10% less damage than elemental affinities. Less normally is used at balance, but I'm doing it on hard because then it's take 10% more damage, you get 10% more cash. Loot quality is increased, however, and elemental affinities matter more. And I feel like hard is used meant to be the standard difficulty because elemental weapons have always kind of mattered. I feel like, and stuff that's, yeah. But we're going to continue there. You can actually change the name of the characters and stuff like that. And I played it for 8 hours so far, 28% into the campaign. I have actually just teleported back to the kind of starting area and stuff like that. Because one thing that I should have figured that out earlier, because I'm pretty certain you could do that in previous Borderlands games, is that you can, for example, when you get a safe house, you get fast travel stations. So you can basically choose a fast travel station, like even ones that are really, really far away, because I've gone into the snow area, for example, right? And if you take over the safe houses, of course, you can use, fast travel there. So you could, for example, use holding the button there, and then we could fast travel there, for example. But that's not what this is going to be about. I'm going to check the guns here, though, just to see if there is anything good. Sometimes there are like uncommons that can be good sometimes, and stuff that. Because sometimes the quality don't matter on things. Sometimes it does. Sometimes it's weird also when there's the gray that is the thing. But yeah, I wanted to talk about skills, right? Because I feel like one of the main reasons why I ended up liking Borderlands 4, or one of the main reasons to, is that the characters are really important. That you find a character that you actually like and stuff. That because if you play any of the Borderlands game and you don't vibe, so to speak, with any of the characters, then it's like really, really bad. But I feel like this character is very, very Gaige coded. Yes, she is a siren, but she doesn't feel like any other siren in the game and stuff that. Yeah, sure, with the tattoos and stuff that you can tell is a siren, but she works very differently from other sirens. Instead of just like whole grabbing stuff into there, she has minions, and she actually has two different types of minions. She has her cat, or saber-tooth tiger, because it has the tooths and stuff that, and then she has phantoms or dead ringer basically and stuff that, which are like face clones. So I've gotten a little bit of a few points here into with the ring, but I started actually with face familiar and went in some 3 points into hasty fiends at first, and then I didn't go into these 2 points yet, but I then instead started putting points into this. Anyway, let's go over first. So, external minions gain movement speed and damage reduction. So, 20% damage reduction. You just have that all the time, basically, and stuff that, which is like really, really good. It just makes you tankier. Movement speed is just good if you're going to travel on foot today. You might say that, oh, but you have a vehicle. Yeah, sure. But there are certain terrains where you definitely want to go on foot. And then these two I did end up getting later and stuff like that just to get to this tier here. And yeah, and I should probably have gone with either enchantment because Vex gains bonus kinetic damage with guns, or I should have gone with Blooded Magic, Vex deals increased action damage to higher her health. I did go with this though, kill skill, restore percentage of mission action skill duration. And action skills are of course what these are called and stuff that, so you can use them like more often and stuff that. But that also you have to realize that that doesn't just mean summoning in the thing, because when it's active, when it's available, basically if you press the skill, it turns into a badass and stuff that you get a badass version of the minion, and you also heal it with it as well and stuff that, so that is very, very good. I am eventually going to put 5 points into this. Vex minion gain increased maximum health capacity, and Vex gains increased gun damage for a duration of the commanding trouble, and stuff that is going to be good. Then you either go with the crit damage, probably Warper Fiends. This one is also very, very good. Claw and Bang versus melee damage and ordnance damage. Vex kill skills gain increased effectiveness. All the kill skills, basically, all the stuff that triggers upon kill skilling will become stronger with that. And the thing that I'm wondering about is, can you go into, because these are the capstone kind of talents which you go into after, and it seems like you can only choose to go into one of these extra trees. But the question is, can you do it on two sides? It's going to be the question, because there is a thing that you want to grab from both of them, if I remember correctly. I forgot exactly which ones it was. Because you definitely want to go into here. I want to go into here, get the all the Coaster Blade so I can get this, because that's really why you're spending into this. So melee attacks apply curse to hit enemies, making them take kinetic status damage, any type of gun damage. So you kind of need to melee a bit with the Cursor Blades and stuff like that, but they are really, really good because, because that just makes them take more damage. But then cursor damage now trigger. This is the really important thing, because you don't really want to go around and melee. I don't really melee very, very often at all. So because this is the thing you get here. So curse damage now trigger on minion melee damage, and this increased damage when it's triggered by critical hit. Curse damage on critical hit is 200%. Because I think that what you want to do is you want to try to think about it in the thing that made Gaige good and made me like Gaige is because I made my canon build, which ended up being like a really, really strong thing, because you get solo raid bosses, even on the hardest difficulty. You needed a B shield, of course, the legendary B shield and stuff like that, which you could find the guy in the radio place over and over again, or you could find it in the Tiny Tina DLC just from random enemies. It felt like, and stuff like that, but yeah. But the thing is that there was a thing that made you basically not be accurate at all. You would basically miss all your shots, basically, or you would build up stacks or something like that. And I think you had to avoid reloading or whatever it was, and you would basically build up stacks. And those stacks eventually, if you reach the maximum amount, you could eventually, that would basically increase your damage by shit ton, but you were very, very inaccurate. So you would basically ricochet damage and stuff like that. And then if you had a projectile weapon like an Unkempt Herald, basically you need any of the Herald, and you could easily get him in the Talk DLC from the machine there. And you can also, that's also a great place to level up, especially on the high difficulties, because you can do the whole bar brawl thing. And then the bar brawl thing also, if you use the Unkempt Herald, or if you use an explosive weapon, then you can shoot into the place and kill most of the enemies, and just gain levels insanely quick, because you can repeat that over and over again and stuff. That's yeah. So I'm thinking that the things you want are stacked. So, for example, if you would go into this middle tree here, whenever this gun damage or melee damage gains a stack of recurrence, which increases her and her minions' gun damage and melee damage. Stack of recurrence are lost if any stack has been gained for the duration. So, whenever you deal gun damage, basically, as long as there are any minions nearby, and gun damage is 0.16 per stack and 0.20 melee damage per stack. And max stack is 50, and it also affects your minions as well. And stuff that, and right, times 10, that would be like only, what, 2% melee damage if you increase by 10 because you move it just a little bit. And stuff that, but since there are 50 stacks, right, I'm just going to calculate what that is actually. Because the melee damage is really what I care about the most there, because that is for the, so 0.2 basically times 50. So that is a 10% melee damage buff. Let's see, the shooting weapon is 0.16 times 50. So that's an 8%. So 8% melee and 10%, or 10% melee and 8% gun damage at maximum stacks. And yeah, and you're definitely gonna build that up unless you kill stuff too quickly. That's the main problem. Right? If a beast ends up being too stoned, then these points ends up becoming wasted. But then there's also interesting things like if you can only go into one capstone or whatever, then that's really bad, or not really. But there are other things that are interesting. For example, this one obedient thing, which gains increased minion damage, minion skills and command skills gain further increased damage and stuff that, depending on how much you want to focus around the minion and stuff that. But yeah, and the thing is, basically things that breed minions not only affect these guys because they count as minions, but he counts as by her minion spawn a face clone minion and stuff that. So everything that affects minions affect them. And I'm guessing right that the cat technically does have a ranged attack that it shoots from its tail or whatever it is. So I'm guessing that the first I thought that these would be worthless here. Like Vex gains increased gun damage, minion gains increased damage. Because I thought that only the dead ringers can shoot because there's a shooting version and a melee version and stuff that. But then the face familiar should be able to shoot as well and stuff that, so you would benefit from those things as well. So yeah, because then if we go into the green tree here, which is the which is the whole Vex calculation, I think it's this. Yeah, whenever Vex gives this gun damage against a stack of drink, increasing her fire rate, and it's 0.12. So 0.12, that's going to be even less per stack of 50. That's even less than the gun damage. I think that might be 6% fire rate, right, times 50, because it was 0.12. Yeah, that's it. That's 6% more fire rate, though. I mean, 6% fire rate could be decent enough. Right. But because you might think, oh, it's about getting the augments and stuff that, but I feel like, yeah, kids keep X on minions gain elemental damage. Ooh, 100% per stack. So that's just 10% elemental damage. And gaining elemental damage, even being able to get elemental damage on weapons that don't have elemental damage, that's actually very good. Yeah, against this is very similar to the thing that you get with Gaige. Magazine size and guns with speed double this effect when action skill is active. Magazine size plus 10%. In guns with speed 11%. So is this going to be 30% then magazine size and 33% guns with speed? Yeah. This strike me down is similar to the thing that is basically like a life-saving thing. Whenever X would enter fight for life, she immediately gets sick and becomes invincible for the duration and gains off its explosion. Yeah, that's similar to the thing that Gaige can get as well. So there are definitely things that like I remember thinking about getting Borderlands 4 immediately or before it even came out, like several months before, and asking like because they knew about the talent trees ahead of time, what was going to be in the talent trees and stuff like that. And I remember asking them, how is there any character similar to Gaige? Well, there is no character similar to Gaige, and then it's just like when you look at his talent tree, and then it's like, yeah, there are definitely several things that are like similar to her. So that, and then you might say, oh, but if something has gun damage, then it's similar. No, it has to do with all the not only stack things, but also has to do with something like strike me down is exactly the same as because she got a thing that basically made it so that she would basically immediately just get up upon dying. And there was also a thing that let you sacrifice the whole death robot or the death trap, which is basically like an advanced version of claptrap and stuff that, which you could block it, which you could sacrifice. And there is also a thing where you can sacrifice here. I forgot, is it in this tree, the sacrifice thing? I think there is a sacrifice things here somewhere. A blood sacrifice. Well, not really that, but yeah. So there is a bunch of things that are very, very interesting and stuff that. Now the question is though, is level 50 going to be the maximum? Because even if level 50 is the maximum, I definitely hope that they will keep increasing the max level, and that would be something that they would talk about and stuff like that, because that is definitely something I would hope for. Stuff like that, because the question is right that let's say I go into this and then get the gun damage and the melee damage here from that, because that just seems very, very good to get and stuff like that, the recurrence there and stuff like that. Let's say we get the recurrence. Does that mean, for example, then that I won't be able to go into any of the capstones there and stuff like that, because yeah, because obviously, right, I'm obviously using the face familiar because I prefer using it and stuff like that, and I'm using this blink strike. But actually, this might be better because that explodes. But wait, Wi-Fi familiar is active. Sacrifice 30% of maximum health capacity instead. So the to explode himself is when it's not active. Right, so wait. The activating phase familiar will respawn. So does that mean when it's a badass, then that's when it does the whole exploding thing? That is the question, really. Yeah, because the explosion might be really good. And then, yeah, you can sacrifice your health. Health restores 75% of max of the health capacity and stuff like that. So there are some really, really interesting things and stuff that you definitely want to try and like plan ahead and stuff like that. But yeah, but there are like a lot of good stuff in everything and stuff that. And of course, there is probably a build also that lets you go into several different elements and stuff like you can get this here attunement skill while X is attuned to radiation against. Yeah, so that thing is interesting, but that requires Vex specifically. All right, she's called Vex. Yeah, attuned to radiation because she gets attuned to an element that she's using basically and stuff. That's yeah. This is for duration of the attunement is switched. Yeah, the more fuller shield is. Yeah, this is similar to the thing that she gets, which is why you use the B shield. It seems increased dynamics more full her shield is. So the B shield basically charges very, very quickly, if I remember correctly. But the B shield is like really, really weak. It's a really, really weak shield in terms of its maximum capacity. It's really bad, but it charges up really, really quickly. But then also it makes you kind of like a glass cannon, like because if you're running on the ultimate Vault Hunter, you're gonna run out of health very, very quickly. But then you gain damage reduction. Yeah, 14%, 14.3% at one health, and 7% gun damage at full shield and stuff like that. So, what I'm guessing they cannot be B shields in this, right? Because B shield was like a lot of the brands on the shields are gone. Like you don't have Pangolin anymore. You don't have Hyperion, don't exist anymore and stuff like that. There's a lot of brands that existed before that isn't there anymore and stuff like that. And stuff like that. Maybe there is an explanation in-game lore explanation for it and stuff like that. Yeah. And I'm eventually gonna just quit outright and not waste like time in the game and stuff and just quit out of the game without saving and stuff just because we're just talking about things. But yeah, but there's a lot of interesting things, of course. There's a chance to spawn radioactive hazard, dealing radiation damage, havoc. Yeah, the nuclear pad seems pretty good because if I remember correctly, radiation is very good for damage source. Because there are damage sources, like the way it works is generally speaking, like lightning or electric damage or shock damage basically is good against shields. Corrosive is good against armor. And then is it fire that was good against health? I think it's the fire, right? Incinerate, or basically, yeah, fire that is good against that. But radiation, if I remember correctly, right, radiation is something that is it's not the weakness of something, but it is good versus everything, but it's not like super strong. Because there are things that is the whole thing that with if you use fire, fire is going to be very weak against something and stuff like that. Same thing with shock, same thing with corrosive. Each of those have something they're very weak against. And stuff that you don't really want to be using it and stuff like that. So yeah. And my weapons, by the way, so we have a torque weapon, assault rifle, a torque shotgun, 84 times 40 on the projectiles. We have a Daedalus pistol. We have a sniper rifle like that. I'm still using this heavy weapon ordnance from level 13 here because it's using the same DPS. And yeah, very good. This shield is insane though, by the way. The previous legendary I had was also a shield, I believe, and stuff like that. So yeah. So on kill spawns missiles that home in on nearby enemies that deal 307 damage each, you get 15% toxic resist or corrosive resist. Whenever seeing enemies, 5% chance to gain 20% damage reduction, missile swarm on armor segment, break launch 3 missiles and stuff like that. So yeah, that's pretty decent. And then we're using a leech repair kit, 30% life steal and stuff there. But yeah, but the skills are really what's interesting stuff. And you know, I haven't like 100% calculated out exactly, you know, what things are worth getting, you know, and stuff that, you know, and stuff that because yeah, because I definitely want to focus around this. Yeah, the beast mode is insane because that makes it immune to damage and multiplier is 30% on the speed and 30% on movement speed. Yeah, it's attack speed, yeah. Kill skill extends beast mode duration. Okay, so you get a kill skill with it immediately. Okay. Yeah, Wallbacks is attuned to shock. Gains bonus shock damage. Gain bonus damage with cancel damage for the duration. Life steal and duration. Spark remnant, yeah. And then critical chance. Gains elemental damage. Deal critical damage and Mr. less health. Yeah. And may gain increased damage dead, but Vex also gains increased damage taken for duration. 6 rocks when Vex dodges or enters fight for your life. Rotated whip, yeah. Illusion becomes badass as Wi-Fi is familiar is active. Yeah. Against critical hit without attacks. But yeah, the double trouble is really good to get an illusion. Or is that a triple? Yeah. Your max illusions is 3. Your illusions take way more damage and stuff that, but still, you know. And this is the, yeah, taunt enemies. And then overshield, yeah. Elemental or aura dealing ordnance damage over time. Ordnance gains overshield. That's attuned to cryo. Restores ammo and ordnance cooldown. And then there's also cryo, but 2 dominants. So you have the different elements, but they are split out in two kind of different trees because here is where you had the corrosive in this tree. So you have the corrosive stuff, and here you have fire into this tree. See, this one, for example, is worthless unless you go with the specters. External specters is bonus damage to critical hits with gun critical hits. Now, of course, that still affects herself as well. So that might still be worth it. The bonus damage is a random element of type that changes on reload. Bonus damage is further increased. For each active attunement skill. Increased minion damage. That could be good though, because the thing is, you don't technically need to get the Death Ringer skill right to gain some of this stuff. Right, because you might think that, oh, you need to equip the Dead Ringer. Yeah, sure, you need to equip it, for example, to get something like this. For example, to be able to pick this capstone, it says like requires Dead Ringer and stuff that, Oh, yeah, because to gain these skills, you require to actually have the Dead Ringer active and stuff that, but otherwise you can grab stuff like this. And if you have these, for example, you could spawn a Reaper outside of having to have the skill and stuff that. I don't think there's anything that can spawn, or is there things that can spawn the cat immediately? So that is there something that could actually spawn the cat from any of these things? Right, that, oh, this happens and then you can spawn it or something like that, because that would be insane. If there could be something that could just be like, oh, this you spawns it in, you know. Create the illusions. Because there is something also in one of the trees. I forgot, is it in this tree? Because there was something that was affected by the more minions you have or something like that. I'm pretty certain I read something that there was something that was like. Okay. Increasing minion damage. Oh. Okay. Incendiary. That's insane though. One works and minute supply status effect apply another random status effect. I thought there were a way to. I know that you can spawn that via that. But you need to take damage at low health and stuff that which can be, dangerous to do. Is it in this tree then maybe? Somewhere? I'm pretty certain that there was something that's. Okay. Oh, I'm pretty certain. I'm pretty certain it was somewhere where I read it though. Where I read it, not read it. Okay, hit region, increased get damage, lifesteal. Okay. So these are similar to some of the other stuff, but more about just herself, rather than also affecting like minions. Okay. I thought there was someone, maybe it was an actual active skill somewhere that did the thing. Okay, so orb, Eldritch Blast. Oops. Minion skill specters, yeah, Gas Blast. Yeah, Vex can now equip 2 augments. And you can spawn a Green Reaper. When enemies starts while being drained, there's a chance a new Reaper will be spawned. I think there was something somewhere though that was. I forgot where it was exactly, but I'm pretty certain there was something that was specific, like the more minions you have, the more damage you dealt or something like that. There was something that were pretty 100% certain there was something very specific. There was like more minions would mean more stuff, you know. Yeah, activate kill skills whenever Vex's minion die. Which is a cause. Oh, right. Vex cancels the campaign for each of her active minions every second. So minion damage is 0.2% per stack, and it goes up to 40. So that's all for each of her active minions. So you gain it faster the more minions you have and stuff like that. So so that is like 0.2. It's times 40. That's gonna be pretty swag. Yeah, 8%. 8% minion damage from that. So yeah. So there's some very, very interesting things, of course, because you could like not use the dead ringer and stuff like that, but yeah, but the thing is, of course, that this is just very powerful to be able to take two augments instead. You know, that just seems pretty insane. But that would, of course, require us to use the dead ringer and stuff like that, but yeah. But I don't know if there was something else that allowed you to spawn something and stuff like that, because yeah. Yeah, activate kill skills whenever access minion dies. So if you have like a shit ton of kill skills, that's absolutely insane. But then you want to make sure that you have this, of course, to increase the effectiveness of the kill skill. So you could definitely probably do a kill skill build if you want to and stuff that, and just grab as many kill skills as possible. So there's kill skills there. That's the only kill skill. Sanguine Fiends there. Kill skill Grave Assault. And then kill skill Grave Quickening. Kill skill Grave Fiends. And then that also has to do with the kill skills. So that's just the basic on that. One here. That's a kill skill. Guns and Needles. That's just an attunement skill. Okay, Science is a kill skill. Grave Implements is a kill skill. That's not a kill skill. Nope. 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 Yeah, kill skills. Ooh, Graves increase max stacks. So that's great power stuff and the effect stats. Yeah. And then we go into Meow Meow Meow. And Meow 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 has Give Sustenance, a kill skill, give Commanders a kill skill, or Protective is a kill skill. And then yeah. So there's probably used a kill skill build that you can use. I forgot, is there like kill skills? Yeah, there's a kill skill as well, so yeah. So that would be interesting to actually grab a bunch of kill skills and stuff that maybe that's going to be a cool build that you can do, but yeah. I definitely haven't decided exactly how I'm going to build, right? Is there going to be 50 talent points, because yeah. So about I almost have 10 invested into the other 3 year. It's going to be 10. Once I have this point, it's going to be 10 into this. And stuff that, and I'm only 5 into this. Right, and then you are going to grab that so just to increase the minions max health. Stuff that. And then this, of course, you want to grab this just to give them critical hit damage increase. Stuff that, but yeah. Yeah, that's gonna use to it, stuff that, And I'm not gonna quit the game because I'm pretty certain that it has how to save, so I'm just gonna exit out of the game and stuff that. Yeah, let's just be to talk a little bit about the whole build ideas I have and stuff like that, because yeah, you know, just have a few. And you can see here, for example, if we change, right, that's not a elemental. That's not a different elemental either. That's not a different elemental either. But if you, for example, go with things that are different elementals, trouble will change its color and stuff like that, which is like really, really good. Stuff that there is a lot of things, but yeah. But maybe, you know, now that I could have saved a lot more if I would have gotten the more expensive versions, like the deluxe edition of the super deluxe. Because what a lot of people aren't calculating out is just the fact that getting the things individually, for example, like getting the bounty pack, it's really expensive. Fire Arc Fury is not that expensive. But getting the bounty pack on its own, it's like almost getting a full price, like PlayStation 1 game back in the day, like $449 or whatever. So that's like almost 45 US dollars for the bounty pack, for example. And then like the on it order is not super expensive, that's kind of $11 they lose. And then the Vault pack is like almost like 55 US dollars or whatever, right? Which is absolutely insane, right? So the stuff is that even though those versions were expensive, both of those versions are still 10% off and stuff like that. But yeah, but you know, maybe they're gonna have like cheaper things during the winter, right? Because you know, I really really hate it when there are people that just spread false information that I don't want to game digitally because these places never have any sales and stuff like that. And then it's like those people are just fucking lying all the time. Those people just want all games to crash and burn because that's just what every single communist or socialist want. They want to like the gaming industry to crash and burn, right? Because that's why they're creating so-called woke games and stuff like that. And of course, there are going to be people that are like, "Oh, Resident Evil 3 remake could go through on purpose because of activists and stuff like that." But yeah, but I hope you all enjoy this, you know, and stuff like that. And if you want me to do go about more builds or tout a certain character or whatever, right? Or if you have ideas, you know, and not like about game make this OP and stuff like that, because I know about certain OP things that you could do with certain weapons to smelt bosses in seconds, but that just feels like boring to me, especially if you're playing the game for the first time. But you can't spoil, of course, if the Herald is in the game or not, or whatever, right? Because, you know, it should be right because it's still torque weapons and stuff that, you know, because if they cut out the Herald, that would be really bad. I'm guessing maybe it's going to be from the mobs, the boss. Or if it counts as a but there was also one boss that I managed to almost kill. That I managed to encounter somewhere, but then I forgot where it was. And stuff that I couldn't find my way back to where I died. And I don't know if they show you a death location in this or not. I don't think you do. Anyway, I'll see you all next time.